AITA for refusing to pay for my sister's wedding after she excluded my husband from the guest list because he makes people uncomfortable. I'm a 34-year-old woman, and my younger sister, Lily, 28, is getting married next spring. I've always been the responsible one in our family. When our parents divorced, I basically became Lily's second parent. I worked part-time in high school to help mom with bills, helped Lily with homework, and even paid for part of her college tuition when our dad refused to contribute. I love her dearly, and despite our differences, I've always been in her corner. My husband, Mark, 36, is a quiet guy. He's a software engineer and a bit socially awkward, but he's kind, supportive, and incredibly loyal. He's been with me through everything, helping pay off my mom's medical debts, being there for my younger brother's graduation, even fixing my dad's roof for free last year. He's not loud or outgoing, but he's genuine. Lily and Mark have always been polite to each other, but they don't have much in common. She's very social, loves big events, and thrives on attention. Mark is the opposite. He tends to hang back and avoid drama. I always thought it was fine, that I didn't need to be best friends, just family. A few months ago, Lily announced she was getting married to her fiancé, Josh. They've been together for 2 years, and honestly, Josh seems like a good guy. When Lily asked me to be her maid of honor, I said yes immediately. I even offered to help financially, since I know weddings are expensive. Lily hesitated, but eventually said that if I could contribute, it would help make her dream wedding possible. So far, I've paid for her bridal shower venue, half the catering deposit, and her wedding dress alteration fees. In total, I've spent around $7,000 already. Then last week, everything blew up. I got an email from Lily with a finalized guest list and seating chart. I noticed that Mark's name was missing. I thought it was an oversight, so I texted her, "Hey, I think you forgot to include Mark on the guest list." She replied, "I didn't forget. He's not invited." At first, I thought she was joking, but she was dead serious. She said that at her engagement party last year, Mark made people uncomfortable because he barely talked, and a few of her friends found his energy weird. Apparently, one of her bridesmaids said he gave off antisocial vibes, and Lily didn't want that kind of awkward atmosphere on her big day. I was stunned. I asked what exactly he did, and she admitted it was nothing specific. He just wasn't talkative or didn't smile much. I told her that's just how he is, that he's introverted and sometimes anxious in big crowds. She said she understood, but needed the wedding to be perfect and didn't want negative energy. I told her that excluding my husband was cruel and ridiculous, especially after everything I've done to support her. She said it wasn't personal, just about the vibe, and that she hoped I'd still come alone since she needed me there as maid of honor. I told her that if my husband wasn't welcome, then neither was my checkbook. That's when she completely lost it. She said I was punishing her for wanting her day her way, and that it was unfair of me to withdraw my support over something so small. She accused me of trying to ruin her wedding out of spite. Our mom tried to mediate, but she's on Lily's side, saying that it's just one day, and that I should compromise because Lily is a sensitive bride. Mom even suggested that Mark should understand and just sit this one out. When I told Mark, he laughed in disbelief. He said he didn't want to go where he wasn't wanted, but was hurt that my family saw him as some kind of burden. He told me to make whatever decision would give me peace, but I could tell it stung. Now Lily has been telling relatives that I'm boycotting her wedding out of selfishness. Some of my aunts and cousins are messaging me, saying I should just go without him because it's not worth family drama. Others think Lily is being a bridezilla. I keep replaying the whole situation in my head. If it were truly about him doing something offensive, I might understand. But this is literally because he's quiet? Because he doesn't fake extroversion? To make matters worse, I found out through one of her bridesmaids that Lily and Josh are still planning to use the money I already gave them. They assumed I wouldn't ask for it back, and Lily apparently said she won't actually pull out. She always caves. That made me furious. I called her and told her that since my husband isn't invited, I'm not contributing another cent, and she can consider the money I've already given as a gift, but she won't be getting a dime more. She accused me of being manipulative and said I'm weaponizing money against her. Now Mom says she might not even have the funds to cover what Lily still needs, and Lily is panicking because several vendors are threatening to cancel if deposits aren't paid soon. Part of me feels guilty because I did commit to helping, but another part of me thinks this is an insane hill for her to die on. My husband did nothing wrong, and I refuse to reward her cruelty by pretending it's normal. My brother, who's 25 and the most chill person in our family, told me I'm doing the right thing, that if Lily can't respect my marriage, she doesn't deserve my help. He also said Lily's always been used to me fixing her messes, and maybe it's time she faces the consequences. I know family dynamics are messy, and I don't want to permanently damage my relationship with my sister, but I can't shake the feeling that I'm being emotionally blackmailed. I was willing to stand by her side, pay for things she couldn't afford, and even rearrange my work schedule to help her plan, and she repaid me by excluding my husband for being himself. Now the wedding group chat is tense, with people taking sides. Lily keeps posting inspirational quotes about choosing positivity and protecting your peace, which feels like a jab. My mom has gone quiet, probably realizing how much money is now missing. I keep wondering if I overreacted, if I should just swallow my pride and go alone for the sake of keeping the peace. But then I picture Mark sitting at home, excluded by the very people who should treat him like family, and it makes my stomach turn. So, am I the asshole for refusing to pay for my sister's wedding after she uninvited my husband because he makes people uncomfortable? If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps the content grow and motivates me to create even more great videos. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. By the way, I'm curious, when do you usually watch my videos? While working, studying, or just relaxing at home? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your support. AITA for refusing to let my sister's family move into my house after she lost hers, even though I have plenty of space. I, 32F, bought my house 4 years ago after working my butt off through college and then landing a decent job in software. I'm not rich, but I've always been very careful with money. I grew up in a house where money was a constant source of stress. My parents weren't exactly irresponsible, but they lived paycheck to paycheck, and whenever something unexpected happened, we'd all feel the ripple effect. That made me obsessed with financial stability. My older sister, Laura, 36F, is the opposite. She's always been spontaneous, emotional, and, in my opinion, reckless. She married young, had 3 kids by 27, and has never really held a steady job. Her husband, Kevin, 38M, works construction and earns decently when he's working, but he's had long gaps between projects. They rent a house about 30 minutes from me. Over the years, they've asked me for money, small loans that never got repaid, help with bills, help with their car breaking down, etc. I never wanted to be cruel, so I helped a few times, but after a while, I started saying no. About 2 months ago, Laura's landlord sold the property they were renting. The new owner decided not to renew their lease and gave them 60 days to vacate. Laura called me in tears. She said they couldn't find anything affordable near the kids' schools and asked if they could stay with me for a few months while they got back on their feet. Here's the thing. My house is 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. One of the bedrooms is my home office, and the other is my guest room. I live alone, but I like my space and my quiet. I'm introverted and work from home. Having 5 extra people, including 3 noisy kids, under my roof sounded like a nightmare. I told her as gently as I could that it just wouldn't work. I offered to help her look for rentals and even said I'd pay their first month's rent if they could find a smaller place. She got defensive immediately. She said, "You have a whole house to yourself, and we're your family. You'd rather your nieces sleep in a car than share your precious office." I told her I was trying to help, but I have boundaries. She said she couldn't believe how selfish I was and hung up. Since then, things have blown up. My parents called, saying Laura and the kids are staying with them temporarily, but their place is tiny. They think I should step up. My mom said, "You're doing well, you have room, and they're family. You're punishing her for not having your luck." I told her it's not about luck, it's about choices. My mom said that was a cruel thing to say, considering the kids are innocent in all this. For context, Laura and Kevin are not helpless victims. 2 years ago, They could have moved to a smaller, cheaper place, but Laura refused because she didn't want to uproot the kids. They've also both had plenty of chances to save. Kevin bought a new truck last year because he said his old one made him look unprofessional. They go out to eat constantly and have a dog that's huge and destructive. Anyway, after the first blow-up, I thought it was over, but now Laura has gotten the rest of the family involved. My aunt and cousins are messaging me, calling me heartless. Someone even posted a vague Facebook post about people who forget where they came from once they get a little money. I haven't responded to any of it, but I did block a few people. Last week, Laura called me again, calmer this time. She said they found a place, but needed another 2 weeks before they could move in, and they had nowhere to go. I said I was sorry, but my answer hadn't changed. I reminded her I'd already offered financial help, and she snapped, "You think throwing money at people is better than compassion?" Then she started crying and said the kids have been asking why Annie doesn't love them. That one hit hard. The truth is, I do love them. I babysit sometimes, I buy birthday gifts, I've even helped with school fundraisers. But I also love my peace, my job, and my home. I worked for years to have a stable, quiet life, and the thought of it being filled with noise, chaos, and tension for who knows how long makes my stomach knot. Then Kevin called me the next day. He said he didn't want to fight, but he asked if I could at least take the kid for a few weeks while he and Laura stay with friends to figure things out. I said I didn't feel comfortable being their primary caregiver, especially with school runs and work deadlines. He got really quiet and said, "You're unbelievable." Then he hung up. Now, my parents aren't speaking to me. My dad texted me a paragraph about family meaning sacrifice and said I'd regret pushing everyone away someday. I'm starting to question myself. Maybe I could have found a compromise. Maybe I could have let them use the guest room for just a few weeks. But I also know a few weeks could easily turn into months. I've seen how they operate. Nothing is ever temporary. What's also bothering me is that when I tried to discuss logistics before I said no, Laura brushed off every concern. I asked where everyone would sleep, and she said the kids could take the guest room, and she and Kevin could sleep on an air mattress in the living room. I asked about their dog, and she said, "We'll make it work." I asked how long they thought they'd stay, and she said, "Until we find something, but hopefully not long." None of that gave me confidence. It feels like everyone is treating me like a villain for setting a boundary, but no one is acknowledging that I've already offered tangible help. Paying a month's rent is not nothing. I'm not made of money, and I don't see why my life has to be turned upside down because my sister refuses to plan ahead. Still, the guilt is eating at me. I keep thinking about the kids. My oldest niece is 12, and I know she's aware of what's happening. She texted me a few days ago saying she misses me and can't wait to come visit again. That broke my heart. I don't want them to think I don't care. But at the same time, I feel like letting them move and would open a door I'd never get to close again. Laura has always had a way of making her problems mine. The last time I helped in a big way, it took over a year to disentangle myself. When her car broke down, I let her borrow mine for a few days. I didn't get it back for almost 2 months, and when I finally did, the interior was trashed. She said she'd clean it, but never did. I don't want to live that pattern again, especially not in my own home. Now the entire family seems to think I've turned into some cold, selfish person. I'm getting messages like, "You'll understand when you have kids, and one day you'll need help too." I don't even know how to respond anymore. I've been losing sleep over it, wondering if maybe I really am being too rigid. So here I am, trying to figure out if I'm the problem. Am I heartless for saying no to letting my sister's family stay with me when they have nowhere else to go? Or am I just protecting myself from being taken advantage of again? AITA for refusing to let my sister move back in with me after she trashed my house while I was on my honeymoon? I, 30F, have always been the responsible one in my family. My sister, Emma, 27F, has always been the free spirit. Growing up, that meant I was the one doing chores, keeping track of bills, and calming down our parents whenever Emma got herself into trouble. She wasn't a bad person, just careless, impulsive, and constantly convinced that things will work out somehow. When my fiancé, now husband, and I bought our first home last year, it felt like a huge milestone. I'd worked 2 jobs and saved for years. We closed in January, and our wedding was set for March. It was supposed to be a perfect start to a new chapter. Then, in February, Emma called me crying. Her roommate had kicked her out. She couldn't afford a new place yet, and she begged to crash with me for just 2 weeks. I hesitated. I loved my sister, but she had a track record. Missed rent payments, broken promises, late-night parties. Still, she swore she'd be responsible. She even said she'd help watch my cat, Luna, while I was away on my honeymoon. My husband wasn't thrilled, but I convinced him it would be fine. Before we left, I went over everything with her. No parties. No gestangobernot. Feed Luna twice a day. Don't touch anything in the office. That's where our important documents were. She smiled, said I worried too much, and promised everything would be spotless when we got back. We left for 2 weeks. It was amazing, until the last day when I got a text from my neighbor. Hey, are you back yet? Your sister's been throwing another party. It's pretty wild. My stomach dropped. I texted Emma, and she didn't reply. I tried to call, straight to voicemail. I told my husband, who sighed and said, let's just deal with it when we get home. When we pulled up to the house, I almost didn't recognize it. Trash bags piled by the garage. Red cups in the yard. The front door unlocked. I opened it and was hit by a wall of stale beer and cigarette smoke. Someone had written on the wall in marker. A crude drawing I can't even describe without cringing. The living room carpet was stained, one of the couch cushions was missing, and there were bottles everywhere. My office door had a shoe print on it like someone had kicked it open. Inside, papers were scattered, my computer monitor was cracked, and my tax folder was gone. Gone. I found Luna hiding under the bed, shaking. She hadn't been fed properly. Her bowls were bone dry. When Emma finally showed up, she looked like she hadn't slept in days. I confronted her, and she started crying immediately, saying things got out of hand. Apparently, she'd had a few friends over the first night, but word got out that she was house-sitting, and the next thing she knew, it turned into a few small get-togethers. She tried to make it sound like it wasn't her fault, like the parties had just happened to her. I told her I wanted everyone gone, and she needed to leave too. She begged me not to, saying she had nowhere else to go. I told her that wasn't my problem. She left crying. Cleaning up took weeks. The carpet was ruined, and we had to repaint 2 rooms. I filed a police report about the missing documents, just in case. My husband wanted to press charges for property damage, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. My parents were horrified when they found out, but then came the guilt trip. My mom said Emma was just young and didn't mean it. My dad said, you have a house, she doesn't. Can't you just forgive her? They pressured me until I finally agreed to meet her for coffee. At the cafe, she cried again, said she was sorry, said she'd been going through a rough patch, and begged to move back in just for a few months. She said she'd even sleep in the garage if that made me feel better. I told her absolutely not. I said I loved her, but I didn't trust her anymore. I couldn't risk my home, my marriage, or my sanity for her. She got quiet, then said I was choosing stuff over family. She stormed out, and later my mom called saying Emma was staying with a friend's boyfriend in a sketchy area, implying it was my fault for abandoning her. It's been 6 months since then. Emma still barely talks to me. My parents are cold whenever I visit, saying things like, we raise you to care about people, not things. But I can't shake the anger. Every time I see a stain on the carpet that wouldn't come out, I remember her saying, it just got out of hand. Every time I feed Luna, I think about how scared she was that night. I try to forgive her. I really did. But the trust is gone. My husband says I did the right thing, that Emma's an adult and needs to deal with her own consequences. My parents say family should always come first. I feel stuck between guilt and anger. Last week was my dad's birthday, and the whole family was there. When Emma arrived, she barely looked at me. Halfway through dinner, my mom made some comment about how some people hold grudges longer than necessary, and everyone got quiet. Emma said, maybe I'll just move back in with my real family next time, and laughed like it was a joke, but I could feel everyone's eyes on me. After dinner, I tried to talk to my mom privately, saying it wasn't fair for her to keep bringing it up. She said, you'll regret this one day when she's gone. That hurt. Now I'm wondering if I really did go too far. Maybe I could have let her stay for a few weeks under strict rules. Maybe I could have helped her find a better place instead of cutting her off completely. But I also remember the smell, the mess, and a sick feeling in my stomach when I realized what she'd done. So here I am, months later, family divided, guilt gnawing at me, wondering if I'm the asshole for refusing to let my own sister move back in after she wrecked my home and broke my trust. AITA for refusing to let my stepdaughter move back in with us after she tested me and my son to see if we'd betray her trust. I, 43F, have been married to my husband, Jason, 46M, for 7 years. We both have kids from previous relationships. My son, Liam, 17M, and his daughter, Avery, 19F. When Jason and I got married, Avery was 12 and Liam was 10. At first, it was rocky. Avery resented me because she hoped her parents would reconcile, and Liam didn't like sharing his space. But after a few years, things leveled out, and I thought we had a decent blended family dynamic. Jason has full custody of Avery because her mom has struggled with addiction for years. Avery is very bright, smart, sarcastic, and fiercely independent. She got a full scholarship to a good college out of state last year. When she left, the house felt quieter, but I thought it was normal empty nest stuff. The issue started this past summer when Avery came home after a freshman year. She was different, not just older but sharper, like she was constantly testing boundaries. She kept making comments about how she sees through people now, and that trust is everything. I didn't think much of it until one night when she called me fake nice. That stung. I asked her what she meant, and she said that I pretend to care about everyone's feelings, but that it's all about control. I was floored. I told her that was unfair, and if she had an issue, she should talk to me directly. She just smirked and said, "You'll show who you really are soon enough." Fast forward 2 weeks. Liam came to me upset because Avery had told him that I planned to sell the house and ship him off once he turned 18. That's completely false. I never said anything remotely like that. I called Avery out immediately, and she shrugged, saying she just wanted to see if Liam would believe her or come talk to me. Apparently, she was testing the strength of our communication. Jason and I were both angry. He grounded her and took her car keys, but Avery didn't seem to care. She said it was a social experiment. I told her it wasn't her place to manipulate people's relationships for fun, but she rolled her eyes and said, "You're overreacting. I was just curious how you two function." Things simmered for a bit until late July, when I noticed some tension between Jason and me. He started getting quiet and defensive. One night, he asked me if I'd ever said anything negative about Avery's mom. I admitted that I once told a friend I hoped Avery's mom would stay in rehab, so Avery wouldn't get hurt again. But I said it out of concern, not malice. Then Jason told me that Avery had secretly recorded me saying that and played it for him out of context, claiming I was trying to erase her mother. I was livid. She'd taken something said in private and twisted it. When I confronted her, she didn't deny it. She said she wanted to know if her dad would take my side over his blood. That was the breaking point. I told her that while I understood she might have deep trust issues, her behavior was toxic and cruel. She laughed and said, "Guess I got my answer." After that, things in the house were unbearable. Avery was cold and distant, and Jason tried to mediate, but it only made things worse. She left early to stay with her friend before going back to college. I thought maybe space would help, but a few weeks ago, she called saying she wanted to move back home for good because she couldn't afford to live off campus anymore. I said I needed to talk to Jason first. When I did, I told him I wasn't comfortable having her move back in right now. I said I didn't feel safe emotionally around someone who lies, manipulates, and records private conversations. Jason said he understood, but asked if I could try to forgive her, that she's young and confused. I told him I could forgive her eventually, but that didn't mean I wanted her living here again. I said she could find housing with roommates, and we could still help financially if needed, but I needed boundaries. When we told Avery, she went ballistic. She called me controlling, said I was turning her dad against her, and accused me of punishing her for being honest. Jason stayed calm, but I could tell he was torn. Avery hung up, then posted a cryptic Instagram story saying, "Some people will call you manipulative when they can't manipulate you." Now Jason's parents are involved. His mom called me and said that I should be the bigger person because Avery's had a rough life. She said I'm putting Jason in an impossible position and that Avery's my family whether I like it or not. I told her that family doesn't mean letting someone violate your trust repeatedly. She said I sounded vindictive and that I'd regret turning Jason's only child against him. Jason says he respects my boundary, but that he feels caught in the middle. I told him I wasn't making him choose. I was just protecting myself and my son. Avery has since been messaging Liam, telling him that I'm brainwashing their dad and that he shouldn't trust me either. Liam showed me the texts and said he's done with her. He said she's toxic, Mom. You did the right thing. Still, I feel guilty. I know Avery's had a rough upbringing with her mom's instability, and maybe she's just acting out. But at the same time, I can't let her back into our home and risk more emotional chaos. Every part of me wants to believe she'll mature and apologize someday, but I'm not holding my breath. Now, Jason barely talks about it, and I can see the guilt eating at him. He keeps saying he just wants his family together, but I think he's finally realizing that Avery's behavior isn't just a phase. I told him that if she ever takes accountability, we can revisit the idea, but until then, the answer is no. My friends are split. Half say I'm doing the right thing by protecting my peace. The other half say I'm cruel for refusing a 19-year-old a place to stay. One even said, "You're going to be the evil stepmom in her story for the rest of her life." Maybe that's true, but I also think actions have consequences. AITA for refusing to let my stepdaughter move back in after she manipulated and tested our family's trust. AITA for refusing to attend my brother's wedding because of the family role they assigned me. So, I, 28F, am the middle child of my family. My older brother Jason, 32M, is getting married next month to his fiancée, Leah, 30F. I'm genuinely happy for them. Or at least I was until I found out what my involvement in their big day would be. For background, my parents have always treated Jason like the golden child. I was never mistreated exactly, but it was clear that I was the responsible one who didn't need much attention, while Jason got praise for doing the bare minimum. My younger sister, Mia, 24F, is the baby, so she gets fussed over. It's just been our family dynamic forever. When Jason announced his engagement, Leah and I got along great. She's sweet, organized, and seemed genuinely excited to become part of our family. I thought maybe this wedding would be a nice fresh start, something that would make everyone feel more connected. I offered to help however I could, thinking that meant setting up decorations or helping with errands. Fast forward a few months, Leah sent out group texts assigning everyone their roles. Mia was a bridesmaid. My mom and dad were obviously doing the parent things. I wasn't mentioned. When I asked about it, Leah said they had something special planned for me, but she wanted it to be a surprise. I was curious, but didn't press. Then, last week, Leah called and told me what they wanted me to do. Apparently, they had decided that I would be the family coordinator, meaning I would manage all the logistics from my side of the family, making sure people arrived on time, helping with parking, handing out programs, helping elderly relatives find their seats, making sure the kids didn't run wild, and coordinating with the catering staff. Basically, I was being asked to work the wedding. I thought she was joking, but she was completely serious. She even said, "You're just so reliable, and everyone knows you keep things running smoothly. You'd be perfect." I told her I didn't mind helping, but that sounded like a job for a wedding planner or coordinator, not a guest or family member. She replied that they couldn't afford to pay for extra staff, and she thought this would be a meaningful way for me to contribute. I asked what Mia would be doing, and she said Mia's only responsibility was to have fun and support Leah. I was furious but tried to stay calm. I asked if I could just attend as a guest instead. Leah got quiet and said, "Well, Jason and I kind of built the schedule assuming you'd handle those details. It would be really stressful if you backed out now." I told her I needed to think about it and hung up. Later that evening, Jason called me, clearly annoyed. He said Leah was upset and crying because I was making her feel like I don't care about the wedding. I told him I absolutely cared, but I wasn't willing to be their unpaid wedding coordinator. He said, "You're family. Sometimes family steps up. It's not like you're doing anything else that day." I reminded him that I was supposed to attend his wedding, not run it. He snapped, "Well, you've always been the responsible one. We knew we could count on you." That line hit me hard. It just confirmed that they saw me as a resource, not a person. I told them flat out that if I wasn't being treated like a guest, I wouldn't be attending. My parents found out a few days later because, of course, Jason told them, and now I'm being guilt-tripped. My mom said I was being dramatic and hurting the family over something small. She said Leah was overwhelmed and that I could make things easier if I just helped. My dad said, "It's just one day. You can relax afterward." I told them I spent my entire life being the one who makes things easier while everyone else gets to enjoy themselves. I said I was done being the background character at my own brother's wedding. Now everyone's mad at me. Jason hasn't spoken to me since that call. My mom keeps sending me family unity quotes. Even Mia told me I was overreacting because it's just one day and that I should be honored they trust me with something important. I don't think it's an honor. It's free labor dressed up as a favor. For context, Leah and Jason are having a pretty fancy wedding, like 150 guests, outdoor ceremony, full catering, a live band, the works. They're clearly spending a ton, but apparently can't afford a wedding coordinator. I make a modest living as a teacher, and they both have much higher paying jobs than I do. The idea that they can't hire help feels like an excuse. A friend of mine, who actually works in event planning, said what they're asking is absolutely a paid position. She even told me that people get anywhere from $500 to $1,500 to handle that kind of work. And the kicker? Leah mentioned they'd be giving all the bridesmaids thank you gifts worth over $200 each. So there's money when it benefits others, apparently. The part that stings most is that I genuinely wanted to be part of this. I thought maybe I'd be included in some small way, even if I wasn't a bridesmaid. But instead, they looked at me and thought, perfect free labor. I final. AITA for refusing to let my sister move back in after she sold our family home without telling me. So this is a long and complicated story, and I'm honestly still trying to figure out if I'm the one who crossed a line here, or if I'm just finally standing up for myself after years of being the responsible one. My parents died in a car accident when I, 32F, was 20. My sister Clara, then 25, was finishing her master's degree, and I was in my second year of college. Our parents didn't have a ton of money, but they owned our family home outright. The will stated that everything was to be split evenly between us, including the house. Clara and I agreed to keep it rent-free so that I could finish school while she worked. It was our home, and it felt like keeping a piece of our parents alive. For years, the arrangement worked. I stayed there, handled utilities, maintenance, and taxes while Clara visited on weekends. When I graduated and got a job nearby, I offered to start paying her rent since she technically owned half. She refused and said she was happy I was taking care of the place. Things started to change about 4 years ago when Clara got married to Ethan. Ethan is, how do I put it, the kind of guy who thinks everyone should be an entrepreneur but never actually succeeds at anything. He had 3 failed startups and lived off Clara's income for years. I didn't dislike him, but I never trusted him. In 2021, Clara and Ethan moved 2 states away for his latest business opportunity. She said they were renting a small apartment and that she missed home. Around that time, she started pushing me to consider selling the house. I told her I wasn't ready. It was our parents' home, my home, and she dropped it, or so I thought. Fast forward to last year. I got a letter from a law firm saying the property title had been transferred, and I had 30 days to vacate because the new owners were moving in. I thought it was some kind of scam until I called the county office. Nope, the house had been sold. My heart dropped. I called Clara 100 times before she finally answered. She sounded nervous and said, "I was going to tell you, but it was complicated." Turns out, when our parents died, she had been listed as the executor of the estate. She still had some legal authority over the property and, somehow, managed to sell it without my consent. She admitted she forged my signature on a few documents, saying she was desperate. She and Ethan had piled up debt from one of his failed ventures, and she thought selling the house was the only way to save them. She promised she'd pay me my half once things settled. I was furious, but also blindsided. I contacted a lawyer who said I had grounds to sue, but warned that it would be messy, expensive, and drag on for years. The house was already sold to a family who had no idea what happened. After a few sleepless nights, I decided not to sue. I took the payout Clara promised, about $160,000, which she sent over 2 months later. It was roughly half the sale price, so at least she didn't short me, but I still felt like my whole foundation had been ripped out from under me. I moved into a small rental nearby, tried to rebuild, and kept minimal contact with Clara. She apologized several times, always blaming Ethan and her bad judgment. I wanted to forgive her, but couldn't shake the betrayal. Then last month, Clara called me out of the blue, crying. She said Ethan had left her for someone else and drained their accounts. She lost her job after missing work to deal with the separation. Now she's broke and has nowhere to go. She asked if she could stay with me just for a few months while she gets back on her feet. I was stunned. I asked her if she realized how hard it was for me to even find a place after what she did. She said she knew and that she'd make it up to me somehow. She reminded me that we were sisters and that family helps family. I told her no. I said I couldn't live with her again, not after what happened. I told her I wished her well, but that she needed to find another solution. She started crying harder, saying I was punishing her for a mistake she already paid for. She said I was being heartless, that she'd been used and discarded by Ethan and now had nowhere safe to go. I hung up feeling awful but also strangely calm. Since then, it's been drama. My aunt called, saying Clara showed up at her place, but couldn't stay long because there wasn't room. She asked me to reconsider. I told her I'd help Clara with groceries or rent somewhere else, but I wasn't letting her move in. My aunt said I was being cruel and vindictive, and that blood should matter more than bricks. Now the family group chat is split. Some cousins think I'm justified. What she did was basically fraud. Others say I'm holding a grudge and kicking her when she's down. The thing is, part of me still loves my sister. I remember how she used to take care of me when our parents died. She was my rock back then. But she's also the person who sold the only home I'd ever known, lied to my face, and nearly left me homeless. I can't imagine sleeping under the same roof with her again. Still, when I picture her alone, broke, and crying, I feel like a monster for not helping. I've replayed the conversation 100 times. She sounded so small and desperate. But then I remember the letter from that law firm, the panic, the betrayal, the way she brushed it off like it was a mistake. My friends think I'm absolutely right to draw a boundary. One even said, if you let her in, she'll find a way to take from you again. But there's this quiet voice in my head saying, you're all she has left. It's been 3 weeks now. Clara's still bouncing between relatives' couches. Every time I see a missed call from her, I get that knot in my stomach again. I haven't blocked her, but I also haven't answered. Last night she texted, I never thought my own sister would turn her back on me. I didn't reply, but I haven't slept since. So Reddit, AITA for refusing to let my sister move in after she sold our family home behind my back. AITA for refusing to let my sister's kids visit after what they did to my daughter's room while we were out of town. So, for context, I, 35F, live with my husband, 37M, and our daughter, Lily, 12. We've got a pretty comfortable home. Nothing crazy fancy, but we've both worked really hard to make it feel warm and welcoming. My younger sister, Tara, 32F, is a single mom of 2, Caleb, 9, and Mia, 7. She lives about an hour away, and because she's had a tough few years, we've always tried to help out, babysitting, loaning her money, hosting her for holidays, etc. I've always been close to Tara, and our kids used to get along well. But recently, it feels like her parenting has gotten lazy. She's exhausted, and I get it, but she tends to let her kids do whatever they want just to avoid conflict. They break stuff, scream, draw on walls, and Tara just kind of shrugs it off as kids being kids. Last month, my husband and I planned a short weekend trip for our anniversary. We asked my parents to watch Lily, but my mom caught the flu, and my dad didn't want to risk getting sick, so that plan fell through last minute. Tara offered to help. She said she'd love to spend the weekend at our place with her kids so Lily could have fun company. She promised she'd take care of everything and even said, don't worry, I'll clean up before you get back. That turned out to be a big mistake. When we got home Sunday night, the house looked like it had been hit by a small hurricane. Empty snack bags and juice boxes were everywhere, sticky fingerprints on the walls, the couch cushions were on the floor, and someone had spilled soda on the rug. Tara was gone. She left that afternoon. But there was a note on the counter saying, "Thanks again for letting us stay." The kids had a blast. At first, I just sighed and figured, fine, I'll clean it up. But then Lily came downstairs crying. She had gone to her room, and it was completely trashed. Her posters were torn off the walls, her desk was covered in marker scribbles, and someone had taken scissors to her stuffed animals, literally cut the ears and arms off a few of them. Her books were scattered, and her hamster cage was on the floor with bedding everywhere. Thankfully, the hamster was fine. Lily was absolutely devastated. She's not a kid who keeps a ton of stuff, so everything in her room had meaning to her. I felt this horrible wave of guilt for leaving her space unprotected. I called Tara immediately. She answered all cheerful, but when I told her what happened, she just sighed and said, "Oh, come on, they're kids." I told them not to go in Lily's room, but you know how curious they are. They didn't mean any harm. I said, "Tara, they destroyed her things. They cut up her toys." She got defensive, saying, "You're acting like they're criminals. They were just playing. You can replace toys." I told her that wasn't the point. It wasn't about the toys. It was about respect. I said I expected her to take responsibility and at least offer to replace the damaged stuff or apologize properly to Lily. She got quiet, then said, "You're being dramatic. I can't afford to replace every little thing, and I'm not going to make my kids feel like monsters over an accident." Then she hung up. The next day, she texted saying she thought it'd be good to move past it and asked if they could come over the following weekend for a movie night. I told her no, not until her kids apologized to Lily and she helped make things right. She didn't respond. A few hours later, my mom called, furious with me. Apparently, Tara had told her I banned her and the kid from my house over a small mess. My mom said I was holding a grudge and being cruel, that Tara's kids are just going through a rough patch because they don't have a dad around. I told her I sympathized, but that doesn't give them a free pass to destroy my daughter's belongings. Now my family's split on it. My dad actually agrees with me. He saw photos I sent of the damage and said it was unacceptable. But my mom keeps saying family is more important than things, and that I'm teaching Lily to be unforgiving. Meanwhile, Lily's still upset. She doesn't even want to talk to her cousins, and she started locking her door at night. She's been saving her allowance to replace her stuffed animals, and it breaks my heart. My husband's furious and says Tara's not welcome in our house ever again. Last weekend, Tara texted again, saying the kids miss Lily and asking if they could visit just for a few hours. I said no, not until they apologize. She sent back a long message calling me a snob and saying I'm punishing children over material things because I think I'm better now that my life's more stable than hers. She even threw in that I was lucky to have a husband who helps with parenting and that I don't understand what it's like. That last part really stung because I do understand that single parenting is hard. But I also think part of being a parent is teaching kids accountability. If Lily ever destroyed someone's property like that, she'd be apologizing and paying for it however she could. No question. I've tried to talk to my mom again, but she just keeps saying I'm being cold. Tara's not speaking to me at all now. My dad says to give it time, but I can't see how to move forward when she refuses to even acknowledge what her kids did. It's been 3 weeks, and I'm torn. Part of me wonders if I overreacted by drawing such a hard line. But the other part of me feels like if I let this go, I'd be teaching Lily that people can hurt her and face zero consequences just because they're family. So now I'm stuck between being the mean sister and protecting my daughter's boundaries. AITA for refusing to let my sister's kids come over after what happened. AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after she made my husband prove his loyalty with a fake cheating test. My sister, Hannah, and I, 30F, have always had a complicated relationship. She's 2 years younger than me and has always been dramatic. Growing up, she had to be the center of attention. Every family dinner, every holiday, every birthday that wasn't hers, she found a way to turn the spotlight back to herself. It was frustrating, but manageable, and I always chalked it up to middle child syndrome. Fast forward to adulthood. I got married 3 years ago to my husband, Ryan. He's the kind of guy everyone likes. Calm, funny, respectful, genuinely kind. Even my parents, who are usually skeptical of everyone, love him. The only person who didn't seem thrilled was Hannah. She smiled during our engagement announcement, but later told me, "I hope he's not too good to be true." I brushed it off because she says cryptic things like that often. Hannah got engaged last year to her fiancé, Ethan. I was genuinely happy for her, despite our differences. She asked me to be her maid of honor, which shocked me, but I agreed. We were getting along surprisingly well during the planning phase, until about 2 months ago. One night, I got a call from Ryan, who sounded shaken. He said he'd been tested by Hannah. Apparently, she'd texted him from a fake number, pretending to be some random woman interested in him. She flirted, sent a few selfies, which she must have pulled from the internet, and asked him to meet up. Ryan didn't take the bait. He shut it down immediately and told me about it. But then Hannah called him the next day, laughing, and admitted it was her. She said she was making sure her sister's husband was loyal before letting him stand next to her at the wedding. When Ryan told me, I was livid. That wasn't a prank. That was a serious breach of trust. He'd been humiliated, and it made both of us look like fools. I called Hannah right away, and she acted like I was overreacting. She said, "Come on, it was just a joke. You should be happy he passed. Doesn't it make you feel even more secure now?" I told her it was invasive, manipulative, and disrespectful to both of us. She just kept laughing and said, "Relax, it's not that deep. You know how many guys would have failed that test?" I told her that no one should be testing my husband, especially her. She got defensive and said she was just protecting me. I hung up before I said something I'd regret. A few days later, I talked to my parents about it, hoping they'd see how wrong it was. But my mom said, "That does sound like something Hannah would do, but she probably meant well." My dad said, "It was dumb, but no harm was done." I couldn't believe it. Ryan's still hurt. He doesn't even want to attend the wedding now, and honestly, I don't blame him. But if I skip it, my entire family will see me as the petty one. I texted Hannah last week to tell her we wouldn't be coming. I said I hoped she had a great day, but after what happened, we both needed space. She blew up my phone, calling me selfish and immature. She said, "You're my only sister. You're supposed to stand by me on my big day. You're ruining this over a joke." Then she sent screenshots of messages from our mom and some cousins saying I was being dramatic and making everything about me, which is laughably ironic coming from her. Now my family is split. My parents think I should be the bigger person. A few relatives think Hannah's test was psycho behavior. My brother texted me privately saying he supports me, but that Hannah will never apologize because she doesn't think she's wrong. To make things worse, Hannah posted some cryptic stuff on social media. She shared a photo of her engagement ring with the caption, "When people can't stand to see you happy, they find reasons to tear you down." Then another story that said, "Some sisters show love. Others show jealousy." It was so obviously about me that even mutual friends messaged asking what was going on. I am honestly heartbroken. I wanted to be there for her. But every time I picture standing beside her while she smiles like nothing happened, I feel sick. Ryan says he'll support whatever I decide, but that he's not comfortable facing her, and I respect that. Still, I keep second-guessing myself. Maybe I should just go to avoid more family drama. Maybe it was just an ill-conceived prank, and I'm blowing it up too much. But then I remember how she laughed at us, how she humiliated my husband for her own amusement, and how she refused to even acknowledge that it was wrong. It wasn't just a test, it was a violation. And I can't imagine sitting through her wedding pretending everything is fine. My mom called again yesterday, saying Hannah was crying and saying her only sister hates her. She asked me, "Are you really willing to destroy your relationship over one bad joke?" I told her that Hannah destroyed herself when she decided to test my marriage. My mom sighed and said, "You know how she is," as if that somehow excuses it. That's the problem. Everyone has always let her off the hook because that's just Hannah. She's 28 years old. When does that stop being an excuse? I know skipping her wedding will cause a rift that may never heal, but I also know going will feel like betraying my husband's dignity and my own boundaries. Ryan told me he feels guilty, like he's the reason I'm missing my sister's big day, which breaks my heart even more. Now my phone keeps lighting up with messages from relatives asking if I'm really doing this. My mom keeps saying family is forever, but I keep thinking respect should be too. So, Reddit. AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after she made my husband prove his loyalty. Hey friends, if you enjoy this content, don't forget to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. We really want to know what you like and what can be improved. What do you think of the video? Are there any topics you'd like to see in future videos? Your feedback really helps us get better. Thanks for being with us. AITA for refusing to let my brother and his fiancée move into the house I inherited. Even though they say I'm being selfish for keeping it empty, I, 32F, inherited my grandparents' house 3 years ago when my grandmother passed away. It's a small but beautiful 2-bedroom home in a quiet neighborhood where I spent most of my childhood. I've always been close to my grandparents, especially my grandma, who helped raise me after my mom passed when I was 11. My dad wasn't really around, so my grandma became my main parent figure. In her will, she left the house to me specifically, which was something everyone in my family knew about long before she passed. She told all of us, many times, that she wanted me to have it because it would always be my safe place. My younger brother Jake, 28M, didn't take that well back then, but he never said anything directly to me about it. He just kind of went quiet whenever the topic came up. After she passed, I decided not to sell the house, even though a few relatives suggested it. It's fully paid off, and I rent an apartment about an hour away from there for work. I don't stay at the house often, maybe 1 week in a month, but I keep it clean, maintain the garden, pay the taxes, and visit because it feels like a connection to her. I also have some things in there that are sentimental and irreplaceable. Old photos, her sewing machine, even the curtains she made herself. It's my emotional safe space, not just a property. Jake got engaged last year to his fiancée, Emma, 27F. She's nice but very assertive. From the start, she's treated the relationship like she's the new head of our family. She organizes holidays, gives unsolicited advice about finances, and once told me I was wasting the house by not living there full time. I laughed it off because I thought she was just making conversation. A few months ago, Jake called me and said he and Emma were struggling. They'd been renting an apartment in the city, but rent kept increasing, and they wanted to start saving for their wedding and future house. Then he dropped the bomb. He asked if they could move into Grandma's house for a while. I told him I'd think about it, but honestly, my gut said no immediately. The house is my sanctuary. I don't want anyone living there, especially not someone who might redecorate or rearrange things. Plus, Jake and Emma are not exactly tidy people. I've seen their current place. It's chaotic. I told them that I was uncomfortable with the idea and that I didn't want anyone living there permanently. He said, "You're not even using it, though. It's just sitting there. What's the point of keeping it empty?" I explained that it wasn't about usefulness, it was about meaning. He said that was ridiculous and sentimental. A week later, Emma called me. Not Jake, Emma. She started off politely, but quickly got aggressive. She said they'd already been talking to a realtor friend who told them what it would cost to fix up some outdated parts of the house, and she mentioned wanting to paint the living room and replace the kitchen counters. I was stunned. She was talking like they already lived there. When I told her that I hadn't agreed to anything, she said, "You're family. Family helps family. You can't seriously just keep an entire house to yourself when your brother is struggling." I told her that if I let them move in, I'd never get the house back in the same condition. She snapped. "So you'd rather a house collect dust than let your brother have a home?" I ended the call and texted Jake saying that the answer was no, final. He sent me a wall of messages about how disappointed he was and how I was choosing property over family. He accused me of being cold and ungrateful, saying Grandma would want him to have a place to start his family. Here's where things get worse. At Easter this year, my aunt, my dad's sister, cornered me and said Jake had told everyone I was hoarding the house out of spite. Apparently, he's been telling family that I'm refusing to help them because I'm jealous that he's getting married. I tried to explain my side, but she said, "You've always been Grandma's favorite. It's time to share a little." That really stung. It wasn't about favoritism, it's about respect. Grandma gave me that house for a reason. It was her wish. 2 weeks ago, I drove out to check on the place and noticed someone had been there. There were tire marks in the driveway and footprints in the dust on the porch. Nothing inside seemed taken, but I felt violated. I called Jake and asked if he'd been there. He said yes. He and Emma had just wanted to look around again and measure the rooms. I lost it. I told him he had no right to go into my property without permission. He said, "It's going to be our home eventually, so I don't see the big deal." I told him that if he set foot there again, I'd change the locks and call the police for trespassing. That's when he blew up, calling me heartless and saying I'd turned into a greedy stranger. My dad even called me later, saying that I shouldn't escalate family drama, and that maybe I could let them stay there for 6 months just to keep the peace. When I said absolutely not, he sighed and told me I was being stubborn like my grandma. Honestly, I took that as a compliment. Now Jake and Emma have blocked me on social media, and my family group chat is awkward. My aunt sent me a message saying, "You'll regret pushing your brother away when he stops trying to have a relationship." I've been second-guessing myself ever since. Maybe I'm being selfish. Maybe I could have let them live there temporarily. But I know deep down that if I gave them an inch, they'd take a mile. That house is the last piece of my grandma I have left, and the idea of Emma painting over her walls makes me feel sick. Still, everyone keeps telling me I'm the villain in this story. I never thought holding on to something meaningful would make me the bad guy. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to let my brother and his fiancée live in my inherited house, even though it's currently empty. AITA for refusing to let my brother and his fiancée use my house for their wedding after what they did at my engagement party. So I, 31F, own a decent-sized house with a big backyard. I bought it 3 years ago after saving for nearly a decade. I'm proud of it, especially since I grew up in a family where money was always tight. My younger brother, Evan, 28M, has always been the golden child. He's charismatic, everyone loves him, and he has this uncanny ability to charm people into giving him what he wants. I love him, but he's one of those people who just expects life to work out in his favor. Evan got engaged last year to Kayla, 26F. She's friendly, but has that everything needs to be picture perfect for Instagram personality. When they got engaged, my fiancé, Sam, 33M, and I offered to throw them an engagement dinner at my place. It wasn't fancy, just a barbecue with about 20 people, mostly family. Here's where the issue began. During the party, Evan and Kayla started acting like they were the hosts. They rearranged my decorations, changed the playlist I'd made, and told my guests, my friends and coworkers, where to sit. At one point, Kayla literally told me, "Don't worry, I'll handle this. I just have a better eye for aesthetics." I laughed it off because I didn't want to cause drama. But the real kicker came when Sam and I announced our engagement. We've been planning to tell everyone that night because our families were all there. When I stood up to make the announcement, Kayla looked visibly annoyed. After the congratulations, she made a loud comment about how some people just can't stand to not be the center of attention. My mom told her to stop being rude, but she brushed it off as just a joke. Fast forward 6 months. Evan and Kayla's wedding planning is in full swing, and they've been struggling to find an affordable venue that fits their aesthetic. Rustic, outdoor, boho chic, whatever that means. A few weeks ago, they came over for dinner. About halfway through the meal, Kayla says, "So, we've been thinking your backyard would be perfect for our wedding." I was caught off guard. My backyard is nice. I've got a gazebo, string lights, and a garden that blooms beautifully in late spring. But hosting a wedding there? That's a huge deal. I asked how many guests they were planning for, and Kayla said, "Oh, just around 120, maybe 130. I nearly choked. That's not a small wedding. I said I'd have to think about it. The next day, Evan called to say they'd already told people the wedding would be at my house because it just made sense. I was furious. I told him he should have asked before announcing anything. He got defensive, saying, "It's family. Why wouldn't you want to help out? You have the space, and we'll clean up afterward." Sam and I discussed it, and we both agreed it wasn't a good idea. Hosting 120 people would destroy the lawn. The noise would probably upset the neighbors, and the liability alone freaked me out. Plus, Kayla's track record of treating my space like her own didn't help. So, I told them no. I said I loved them, but didn't want to host such a large event at my home. Kayla immediately started crying, saying I was ruining her dream wedding. Evan told me I was being selfish and that it wouldn't even cost me anything. I pointed out that it would water, electricity, wear and tear, plus the stress. He hung up on me. Then, things got worse. Kayla's mom posted on Facebook about how some people are so ungrateful even when they have everything handed to them. And several of my relatives started texting me, asking why I wouldn't support my brother's big day. Apparently, Evan told everyone I was holding my backyard hostage. At that point, I decided to set a firm boundary. I texted Evan and Kayla, saying I didn't appreciate being guilt-tripped and that the topic was closed. They could find another venue. I thought that would be the end of it, but then my dad called. He said he understood my reasons, but that family should help family, and reminded me that when I was in college, Evan let me borrow his car for a few months. I also paid him for insurance and gas, but apparently that doesn't count. He said this was the same thing. Now, the wedding is in 4 months, and they still don't have a venue. Kayla sent me a long message saying she can't believe I'd deny her the happiest day of her life just because I'm jealous. I honestly don't even know what she means by that. Jealous of what? Her getting married? Last weekend, my mom tried to mediate. She invited us all to dinner. It was tense from the start. Kayla barely looked at me. Halfway through, Evan said, "We found a backup plan. A friend's uncle has a barn, but it's not as nice as your yard. We'll probably have to spend more money making it look good." Then, looking right at me, he added, "Some people just don't care about family." That did it. I stood up and told them both that I was done being guilt for setting a perfectly reasonable boundary. I said, "You don't get to insult me, use my property, and then play the victim." I left before anyone could say anything else. Since then, the family group chat has been a nightmare. My aunt said I should just let them have it since it's only one day. My cousin thinks I'm right and says Kayla is acting entitled. Sam says I should block them until after the wedding to avoid more stress. Here's the thing. I could host the wedding if I really wanted to. It would be inconvenient, sure, but not impossible. But I just don't want to. After how they treated me at my engagement party and how they've been acting since, I don't feel like I owe them that. Still, part of me feels guilty because I know how much Evan looked up to me when we were kids. I helped him with homework, paid for his prom tux when our parents couldn't afford it, and cheered him on when he got his first job. I never thought something like this would cause such a rift between us. Now my mom keeps saying, "You'll regret it if you don't make peace before the wedding." But I honestly don't know how I'm supposed to make peace when they've treated me like a villain for simply saying no. So, Reddit. AITA for refusing to let my brother and his fiancée use my house for their wedding after how they behaved. AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after she made my daughter uninvite herself. So I, 36F, have a younger sister, Emily, 29F. Emily and I have always had a complicated relationship. She's always been the golden child, prettier, more outgoing, the one who lights up a room, as her mom likes to say. I was the responsible one, the one who babysat her, covered for her when she got in trouble, and somehow ended up being called jealous whenever I pointed out how much favoritism she got. Despite all that, I've always tried to be supportive. When Emily got engaged to her fiancé, Jason, 31M, last year, I was genuinely happy for her. I even helped her plan parts of the wedding. I made spreadsheets for vendors, helped her narrow down color palettes, and went to multiple dress fittings with her even though I lived 2 hours away. I have a daughter, Lily, 14, from my previous marriage. She's a sweet, creative kid, a bit shy but very polite. Emily and Lily have always gotten along, and Emily originally asked Lily to be her junior bridesmaid. Lily was thrilled. She helped pick out a dress that matched the bridesmaids, went to all the fittings, and even practiced her little walk down the aisle at home. About 2 months before the wedding, Emily called me in tears. Apparently, one of Jason's cousins, a 15-year-old girl named Zoe, was upset that she hadn't been included in the bridal party. To keep the peace, Emily said she decided to make Zoe a junior bridesmaid too. Fine, whatever. Lily didn't mind sharing the role. But things changed quickly. Emily started acting weird about Lily. She texted me asking if Lily could maybe wear a different shade of the dress to differentiate her from the rest. Then she hinted that maybe Lily could just help with programs instead. When I asked why, she said, "You know how teens can be. Zoe feels more comfortable if she's the only one in the spotlight." I told her that wasn't fair, and she backed off, saying she'd figure it out. Then, about 3 weeks later, Lily came into my room crying. She said Aunt Emily had called her directly and told her, "I want you to decide for yourself if you still want to be in the wedding because I don't want you to feel uncomfortable if you're not really fitting in with the other girls." Lily told her she wanted to stay, but Emily said, "I think it would be so mature of you to step back and let Zoe shine. You don't have to say yes right now, but think about it, okay?" When I called Emily and asked what the hell that was about, she played dumb and said Lily made her own decision. I told her Lily didn't decide anything. She was manipulated. Emily said I was being dramatic and that it's not that deep. She said she was trying to avoid drama with Jason's family. So I told her, fine, if my daughter's not welcome, neither am I. I wasn't going to go to a wedding that deliberately hurt my kids' feelings. Cue the family explosion. Our mom called me immediately furious. She said I was making everything about myself and that Emily was just trying to manage a sensitive situation. My dad tried to stay neutral, but said he thought I was overreacting. My brother, who's the only one who seems to have sense, told me he gets why I'm upset and that Emily was way out of line. A week later, Emily sent me a long text that said, "I wish you could put your pride aside for one day. Family should be there for each other." I replied, "Then why weren't you there for my daughter?" She left me on read. The wedding was last weekend. I didn't go. Neither did Lily. We spent the day baking cookies and watching movies. I thought I'd feel guilty, but honestly, I just felt relieved. Now it's the aftermath. Mom and Dad both say I humiliated Emily because people at the wedding noticed I wasn't there, and apparently, she had to make up a story about why. She told everyone I was sick. A cousin texted me afterward saying the wedding was beautiful, but awkward without you. I still haven't talked to Emily since. She posted a photo on Instagram with a caption, "Surrounded by love and support from those who matter most," which felt like a deliberate jab. Here's where I might be the asshole. Some family members are now saying I punished Emily for something minor and made Lily the center of the drama. My mom told me, "You're teaching your daughter to hold grudges." But from my perspective, what Emily did wasn't minor. She singled out a child and made her feel unwanted because she didn't want to upset her new in-laws. Lily's still hurt. She keeps asking what she did wrong. I've reassured her over and over that she did nothing, but I can tell it still stings. Part of me wonders if I should have just sucked it up and gone for the sake of peace. I know weddings are stressful, and maybe Emily really did feel caught in a tough spot. But at the same time, if I'd gone, what would that have shown Lily? That it's okay for people to treat her badly as long as they're family? Now Emily has told mutual friends that I hate her and try to ruin her wedding. One even said Emily was sobbing at the reception because I wasn't there. My mom told me I owe Emily an apology so we can all move on. But I honestly don't think I owe her one. If she had just come to me and said, "Hey, can we figure out a way to make this fair?" I would have understood. But going behind my back to pressure my kid into stepping down and then pretending it was Lily's decision, that crosses a line. Still, the guilt is creeping in because family tensions are at an all-time high. Thanksgiving's coming up, and my parents already said Emily and Jason will be there. If you can be civil. I told them I wasn't sure if I wanted to go at all. They said that was exactly what Emily meant, that you always make things difficult. Now, I'm stuck wondering, did I let my anger make me petty? Should I have gone for the sake of appearances? Or did I do the right thing by standing up for my daughter, even if it meant burning some family bridges? AITA? AITA for refusing to give up my first-class seat for a child on a 12-hour flight, even though the parents called me heartless. So, I, 34F, recently went on a long-haul flight from London to Singapore for work. My company booked me in business class, but when I arrived at the gate, I got a complimentary upgrade to first class because I fly with that airline a lot. I was beyond thrilled. I had never flown first before, and it felt like a little luxury after months of stressful projects and overtime. I boarded early, got settled in my seat, and started enjoying the pre-departure champagne. About 10 minutes before takeoff, a flight attendant approached me and asked if I'd be willing to move to another seat to help a family sit together. I asked where the seat would be, and she said it's still a premium cabin seat, just in business class instead of first. I hesitated and said, "I'm sorry, but I'd prefer to stay in the seat I was assigned. She nodded politely and went away, but then a woman, maybe late 30s, and her husband came down the aisle holding the hand of a little girl, maybe 6 or 7 years old. The woman stopped next to my seat and said, "Hi, I think you're in the seat next to my daughter. Would you mind switching so she can sit with me?" The airline messed up our booking. Sure enough, the little girl's boarding pass matched the seat next to me. The parents were seated together 2 rows back. Now, to be clear, I'm not heartless. I love kids, and I get that traveling as a family can be stressful. But I also know how much these seats cost. I looked up the price before boarding. A single first-class ticket for this route was over $8,000. I wasn't about to give up that experience, especially when my company had already spent a fortune sending me on this trip, and I'd been upgraded as a courtesy. So I politely told the woman, "I'm sorry, but I'd prefer to keep my seat. Maybe the crew can find another solution for you." Her face immediately fell, and she said, "She's just a child. You'd really make her sit here alone." I said, "She won't be completely alone. I'm right next to her, and the flight attendants will check in. I'm sure they'll do their best to make her comfortable." The woman rolled her eyes and muttered something under her breath before walking back to her husband. The flight attendants had a quiet conversation with them, then with me again, confirming that I didn't want to move. They eventually convinced another passenger in business class to switch, so the mom came up to first class to sit next to her daughter. As she sat down, she glared at me and said, "I hope you're proud of yourself." The flight took off, and for most of it, the mom ignored me, but at one point during the meal service, she made a snide comment to the flight attendant, loud enough for me to hear, about some people caring more about free champagne than basic compassion. The attendant looked uncomfortable, apologized to her, and offered both of them an extra dessert. I tried to just ignore it and enjoy my flight, but I'll admit, the whole situation left me feeling uneasy. The child wasn't disruptive, but the mom's passive-aggressive sighing and whispering made it hard to relax. When we landed, the woman actually stopped me in the aisle and said, "For what it's worth, I hope you never have kids because karma's a thing." I just stared at her, speechless, and walked off the plane. I told some friends about it when I got home, expecting them to reassure me that I did nothing wrong. But the reactions were mixed. One friend said I was absolutely right, that my seat was my seat and the airline's problem wasn't mine. Another said, "Honestly, it's just one flight. You could have made a kid happy and a family's life easier. It wouldn't have killed you to switch." That made me second-guess myself. Because yes, I could technically have still been comfortable in business class. It's not like I would have been stuck in economy for 12 hours. But at the same time, I really wanted that experience, and it felt unfair to ask me to sacrifice it because of the airline's mistake. I know people say it costs nothing to be kind, but in this case, it literally would have cost me several $1,000s worth of value, plus the one chance I had to enjoy something rare. I didn't demand the upgrade. I didn't stop anyone else from buying first-class tickets. I just said no when asked to give mine up. But then again, there was a child involved. The little girl was quiet, sweet, and polite. She said thank you to the crew and even smiled at me once when I helped her reach her seatbelt. That image has been stuck in my head ever since. Now I keep thinking, did I really need to say no? Or was I being petty and selfish? My parents, who are old school and very children first, think I was wrong. My mom literally said, if someone asked me to move so a child could sit with her mother, I'd do it without thinking. But my brother pointed out, that's easy to say when you've never sat in a $10,000 seat. Even the coworkers who know how exhausting my job has been are divided. One said, "You earned that upgrade, don't feel bad." Another said, "You could have done something nice and it wouldn't have hurt you." The world needs more empathy. I keep replaying it in my head. The woman's tone, the daughter's shy smile, the moment the attendant asked me if I'd be willing to move. It's like I can't decide if I stood up for myself or revealed something ugly about my priorities. The rational part of me says, it was an airline error, not my responsibility. The emotional part says, maybe I should have just moved and spare myself all this guilt. When I told this story to my best friend, she asked, would you have done it if it had been a couple instead of a mother and child? And that hit me hard because, honestly, I probably wouldn't have felt guilty in that case. So maybe the fact that a kid was involved is what's messing with my sense of right and wrong. In the end, nobody was harmed. The mom still got to sit next to her daughter, just in a different seat than originally planned. But the look she gave me still makes me uncomfortable, like I did something cold-hearted. So Reddit, AITA for refusing to give up my first-class seat so a mom could sit next to her child, even though I technically still would have been in business class and comfortable. AITA for refusing to help my sister with her wedding after she made my daughter cry. I, 34F, have a younger sister, Emily, 29F, who's getting married next spring. We've always had a decent relationship. Not super close, but we text, see each other on holidays, and occasionally grab coffee. Things were fine until the wedding planning started. Emily has always been particular. When she has a vision for something, there's no room for compromise. I'm more of a laid-back person, so I usually just go along with it. But lately, it's been exhausting. Ever since she got engaged, everything in her life has revolved around this wedding. The colors, the theme, the guest list, the centerpieces. Every conversation turns into a wedding monologue. I have a daughter, Lily, 8F, who absolutely adores her aunt. When Emily asked her to be the flower girl, Lily was thrilled. She practiced walking with petals for weeks, even wore a white dress around the house, pretending it was Auntie M's wedding dress. A few weeks ago, Emily invited me, Lily, and our mom over to her place to do some wedding planning. I thought it was just about decorations or maybe trying on dresses. But when we got there, Emily was in full bridezilla mode. She was pacing around her living room, surrounded by swatches of fabric, samples of napkins, and Pinterest boards on her laptop. She immediately started giving everyone assignments. My mom was supposed to handle the invitations, and I was told I'd be in charge of coordinating all the bridesmaids' fittings, hair appointments, and making sure they didn't go rogue with accessories. I told her that sounded like a lot, especially since I work full-time and have Lily to take care of. Emily rolled her eyes and said, "It's not that hard. You're just organizing people. It's the least you could do since you're not even paying for anything." That comment rubbed me the wrong way, but I bit my tongue. Then she turned to Lily and said, "Okay, sweetie, about your dress. I found a perfect one online, but it's not exactly your size. You'll need to wear some shapewear to make it fit better." Lily looked confused and said, "What's shapewear?" Emily laughed and said, "It's like tight underwear that makes you look smoother. You'll need it so the dress looks nice in pictures." My mom and I just froze. Lily is 8. She's a normal, healthy little girl. The idea that she needed to wear shapewear for a wedding made my stomach drop. I told Emily, as calmly as I could, that Lily wouldn't be wearing shapewear. Emily waved her hand and said, "Don't make a big deal out of it. All the girls will be wearing some kind of shapewear. I want everything to look cohesive." Lily's face fell. She asked me quietly if she looked wrong or too big. That's when I lost it. I told Emily that she was out of line and that commenting on an 8-year-old body was disgusting. Emily got defensive immediately, saying I was projecting my insecurities onto Lily and that I was trying to ruin her wedding. I told her that if she continued to make comments like that, Lily wouldn't be in the wedding at all. That's when Emily exploded. She accused me of being selfish and jealous, said I was trying to make everything about me, and then threw in that classic line, "You've always hated that I'm the prettier one." I grabbed Lily, who was crying at this point, and left. Later that night, Emily sent a long text basically doubling down. She said she'd already ordered the dress and that if Lily couldn't fit into it appropriately, she'd find another flower girl. She ended it with, "If you can't support me during my most important time, don't bother showing up at all." So I didn't. It's been 2 weeks, and I haven't reached out. My mom keeps telling me to be the bigger person, that Emily is just stressed out, and that I should at least help with some wedding stuff to smooth things over. She also said Emily is telling people I overreacted and made a scene in front of everyone. The thing is, I'm not sure if I did overreact. I didn't yell until she made my daughter cry. I know weddings can make people crazy, but I can't bring myself to pretend like it's normal to make an 8-year-old feel bad about her body. A few days ago, Emily called me again. I didn't answer, so she left a voicemail basically saying she's willing to move past the drama if I apologize and help coordinate things. She said Lily could still be the flower girl if she promises to behave and not make faces during photos. I wanted to throw my phone across the room. My husband says I shouldn't even dignify that with a response. He said he's proud of me for standing up for Lily and that if my sister can't see why what she did was wrong, then that's on her. My mom, on the other hand, keeps saying family is family and that I'll regret missing Emily's wedding someday. Part of me feels guilty. I don't want to be the reason our family falls apart over a wedding. But another part of me feels like if I cave now, I'll just be teaching Lily that it's okay to let people treat her badly as long as they're family. Now the wedding group chat is buzzing again with messages about color themes and schedules, and I've been completely left out. My mom says it's awkward that I'm not involved and that Emily cried for hours because her own sister doesn't care about her big day. But honestly, I do care, just not more than I care about my kids' feelings. I've been going back and forth about it for days. Maybe I should just suck it up and be there for my mom's sake. Maybe Lily will forget about this whole thing in a few years, and I'll just look like the bitter sister who couldn't let things go. Or maybe Emily crossed a line that doesn't deserve forgiveness just because she's stressed about a party. So Reddit, AITA for refusing to help my sister with her wedding after she made my daughter cry. AITA for refusing to let my sister's fiancé stay at my house after what he said about my son. I, 36F, have a 9-year-old son named Lucas. He's bright, funny, and happens to be on the autism spectrum. He's verbal, high-functioning, and overall a wonderful kid, but he struggles with sensory overload and social cues sometimes. I've always been very protective of him. Not in a helicopter way, I hope, but just making sure people around him understand and respect his needs. My younger sister, Claire, 29F, is getting married next spring. Her fiancé, Trevor, 32M, has never really made much effort to know Lucas. They've been together for 3 years, and in that time, I can count on one hand how many times he's spoken directly to my son. It's always been polite small talk. Hey buddy, how's school? And then he turns back to the adults. It's not a huge deal, but it's noticeable compared to how the rest of the family treats Lucas. A few weeks ago, my parents decided to host a family dinner to celebrate Claire and Trevor's engagement. Lucas had been having a tough week. He just started a new school year, and new routines always throw him off. Before we went, I reminded everyone in our family group chat that Lucas might need some quiet time. So if he went to another room to calm down, just let him be. Everyone said, of course, no problem. The dinner was going fine until Lucas accidentally spilled a small amount of grape juice on the table. He immediately started crying. It's something that really stresses him out. He hates making mistakes in front of people. I got up to clean it, but Trevor said loudly, "Whoa, careful there, buddy. Guess we're not ready for the big kids table yet." Lucas froze, and then he bolted from the room. I saw red. I asked Trevor, was that really necessary? And he just shrugged and said, I was joking. You can't coddle him forever, you know. He's going to have to toughen up at some point. The table went silent. Claire looked mortified, but didn't say anything. My mom mumbled something about everyone calming down, but I told them I was leaving. I gathered Lucas, thanked my parents, and left. Later that night, Claire called me. She apologized for Trevor's comment, but said I overreacted and made things awkward. I told her that if Trevor wanted to be part of our family, he needed to understand that making fun of a child, especially my child, was unacceptable. She said he didn't make fun of him and that Trevor grew up in a family that teased each other all the time, so he probably didn't realize how it came across. Fast forward to last week. Claire called to ask if she and Trevor could stay at my house for a weekend because they were attending a wedding nearby. I immediately said no. She seemed surprised and asked why, so I told her plainly that I wasn't comfortable having Trevor in my home after the way he spoke to my son. I said I didn't trust him to respect Lucas's boundaries. She got really quiet, then said, "So you're punishing me for something Trevor said months ago?" I told her I wasn't punishing anyone. I was protecting my child. She hung up on me. Then my mom called. She said she understood my feelings but thought I was being overly harsh. She said Trevor made a mistake and that refusing to let them stay at my place was holding a grudge. I told her it's not about a grudge, it's about respect. If Trevor can't be kind to a 9-year-old, why would I let him sleep under my roof? My dad, on the other hand, texted me privately saying he completely understood and that the kid comes first. But now my entire family group chat has become weirdly divided. My aunt chimed in saying, "We all have to get along eventually," and my cousin said I was making drama over one offhand comment. Yesterday, Claire called again. She sounded exhausted and said she didn't want this tension to hang over the wedding. She said Trevor felt embarrassed and unwelcome, and that he didn't mean to offend anyone. She added that she thought it would mean a lot if I could forgive and move forward. I told her forgiveness doesn't mean pretending it didn't happen. I said if Trevor wanted to apologize to Lucas directly, I'd consider it. Claire said he's not comfortable talking to kids about stuff like that. It's awkward for him. That's when I snapped. I told her he's not comfortable talking to kids about his own cruelty, but he was perfectly comfortable mocking one at dinner. She hung up again. Now my mom is saying I need to be the bigger person because Claire's wedding is supposed to be about love and family, not grudges and old wounds. I feel like I'm being pressured to just swallow my anger so things are easier for everyone else. But I keep thinking about Lucas. He still remembers that night. A few days ago, he asked me if Uncle Trevor doesn't like him. He said, "Maybe I'm weird." That broke me. I reassured him that he's perfect just the way he is, but I can't forgive Trevor when I know my son is still hurt. And I can't invite someone who thinks he's above apologizing into our home. But now I'm starting to doubt myself. Claire and I were really close growing up, and this rift has been painful. My mom keeps saying I'm teaching Lucas to hold grudges, and that I'm poisoning the family dynamic over something small. Maybe it was a small comment to other people, but to me it represented something bigger. The way people think it's okay to mock kids like mine because they're different. So here I am, wondering if I went too far. Was I supposed to just let it go for the sake of peace? Should I have given Trevor another chance without demanding an apology first? Or am I right to draw the line where I did, even if it means missing parts of my sister's wedding planning and being labeled the difficult one? AITA for refusing to let my sister's fiancé stay in my house after what he said about my son. AITA for refusing to give my sister my grandmother's engagement ring, even though she claims she needs it more. This all started a few months ago when my grandmother passed away. She left me her engagement ring. It's a simple gold band with a small diamond. Nothing extravagant, but it's been in our family for generations. I was very close to my grandmother, so I wanted to keep it as a memory of her. I didn't expect it to cause any drama, but apparently it did. My sister, Rachel, was the first to bring it up. She's 5 years younger than me and has always had a habit of thinking everything should be split evenly or given to her if she wants it. A week after the funeral, she came over to my apartment and immediately asked about the ring. I told her I decided to keep it, and she looked shocked. She then went on this long rant about how she deserved because she had always been closer to Grandma in her later years, how she needed something to remember her by because she didn't have as many keepsakes, and how unfair it was that I got it. I tried to explain that it wasn't about fairness, it was about sentimental value, and I had the right to keep something that reminded me of my grandmother. But she kept insisting that I was being selfish and cruel. At first, I tried to compromise. I suggested maybe she could have one of Grandma's brooches or some other jewelry, but that wasn't enough for her. She said those things were cheap consolation prizes, and that the ring was the only thing that mattered. Things escalated when my mom got involved. She called me a few days later and said I should consider my sister's feelings and share the ring, reminding me that our grandmother had always wanted the family to be close. I told her that keeping a sentimental item didn't make me a bad person, and that the last thing I wanted was to spark a family feud over a ring. She seemed disappointed, but didn't push much further. Then, Rachel started bringing it up constantly. Texts, calls, even showing up unannounced. She began using manipulative language like, "I guess your memories of Grandma are more important than mine," or "I hope you're happy keeping that while I'm left with nothing." It was exhausting and honestly made me anxious. Last month, things really came to a head. Rachel was at a family gathering and brought it up in front of everyone. She asked me again why I wasn't giving her the ring, and when I said I didn't want to, she accused me of valuing material things over family love, and even cried in front of everyone. I tried to remain calm, but my cousin, who was there, snapped at Rachel for being dramatic and said I was within my rights to keep the ring. This only made her angrier, and she left the gathering in tears, saying she would never forgive me. Since then, Our relationship has been strained. Rachel has stopped talking to me directly, but has been posting passive-aggressive things on social media, tagging me in them. My parents are upset with me for not giving her the ring, and I feel like I'm being painted as the villain in front of the entire family. My husband keeps telling me I need to stick to my boundaries, but part of me feels guilty because everyone keeps saying I should share the memories, even though sharing memories doesn't mean giving away the physical item. I've tried explaining multiple times that the ring is sentimental, that it belonged to Grandma, and that it was meant for me because I was closest to her in the last years of her life. I even offered to take her to pick out a piece of jewelry that she could have, and that would be meaningful in its own right. But she refused and said, nothing will ever replace Grandma's ring. Now, my extended family is subtly taking sides. Some people say I'm being cruel. Others say Rachel is overreacting. My mom still keeps hinting that maybe I'll change my mind, which I haven't. My friends are telling me I'm NTA, but the constant pressure from my family makes me second-guess myself sometimes. I've thought about it a lot and honestly feel like I shouldn't have to give up something that is emotionally significant just because my sister wants it. At the same time, I feel guilty seeing how upset she is and how everyone seems to think I'm wrong. I want to maintain some peace in the family, but I also don't want to compromise my own feelings about something that's very personal to me. So, AITA for refusing to give my sister my grandmother's engagement ring, even though she claims she needs it more. AITA for refusing to attend my brother's wedding because of his fiancé's behavior. I, 28F, have always been close to my younger brother, Alex, 25M. Growing up, we had our normal sibling squabbles, but nothing that would permanently damage our relationship. When Alex started dating his now fiancée, Clara, 27F, I was cautiously optimistic because he seemed really happy. I tried to give her a fair chance, but over the last year, her behavior toward me and my family has steadily worsened. It started with small things. When we met for the first time at a family dinner, Clara seemed polite enough, but I noticed subtle digs aimed at me. For example, she kept making jokes about my job as a teacher, saying things like, it must be so relaxing to do nothing all day while the real world works hard. I laughed it off at the time, assuming she was just nervous, but these types of comments became more frequent. Things escalated when she started inviting herself to family events without consulting anyone. She once showed up unannounced to my parents' anniversary party, and when my mom gently mentioned that she wasn't invited, Clara rolled her eyes and said, well, it's family, right? I thought I could just come. My parents were uncomfortable but didn't confront her, and I ended up awkwardly trying to make her feel welcome. The breaking point for me personally came about 6 months ago. I had been planning a birthday dinner for my best friend, inviting only close friends and family. Clara found out through Alex and asked if she could bring her friend along. I explained that it was a small gathering and that I couldn't accommodate extra people. Clara reacted by storming into my apartment and confronting me, accusing me of being exclusive and mean and saying that I was jealous of everyone's happiness. Alex later apologized for her behavior, but he also said he didn't want to confront her directly because he didn't want to start a fight before the wedding. Recently, things have reached a new level. Alex and Clara announced their wedding date for next summer, and the entire family was excited. I had been planning to attend, despite my discomfort, because I wanted to support my brother. A couple of weeks ago, Clara sent me a direct message asking if I could handle some bridesmaid duties. I responded politely, explaining that I wasn't comfortable participating because I had already committed to work travel during part of the wedding weekend. She replied with a passive-aggressive text saying, it's really disappointing you wouldn't do anything for your brother's special day. I guess I can't expect family support from everyone. I decided to try one last attempt at communication. I reached out to Alex privately and told him how uncomfortable Clara has made me feel over the past year. I emphasized that my intention wasn't to interfere with their wedding, but I felt disrespected and unwelcome in their shared social circle. Alex reacted defensively. He told me I was overreacting and that I needed to get over minor annoyances if I wanted to be part of his life. He said that refusing to attend the wedding would damage our relationship permanently and that I should choose family over petty grudges. After a week of stewing over this, I made a decision. I sent Alex a message explaining that I love him and support his happiness, but I cannot attend his wedding while feeling constantly undermined and insulted by his fiancée. I said I hope he has a wonderful day and that I'd love to celebrate with him privately afterward, but my boundaries needed to come first. The fallout was immediate. Alex called me crying and accused me of betraying him and letting Clara control my life. He told me that our parents were disappointed as well, which confused me because my parents haven't expressed any opinion yet. They've just been trying to remain neutral. A few of my extended family members also texted me, saying that I was being unreasonable and that I should just grin and bear it for one day. Clara, meanwhile, has been posting subtle things on social media about people who only support themselves, and I'm fairly certain the post is about me. I understand that my absence will upset Alex and potentially strain my relationship with him and my parents, but I feel like attending would make me miserable and could lead to more conflict. I don't want to be part of a day where I feel disrespected, even if it means losing face in the family or upsetting Alex temporarily. So Reddit, AITA for refusing to attend my brother's wedding because of his fiancée's ongoing behavior. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss new videos also. Leave a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Your support and engagement mean a lot to me. See you in the next video.